Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I'm doing some testing of the audio, so if you can hear the pan drum, please reply. Also, I'm doing a little bit to calm my own nerves. I'm very hot. It's quite warm in here, but yeah. Give everybody a moment to get notified and turn up before we start. Yay! This is exciting! Woo! I think this is year 3 of doing YouTube more seriously. And yeah, it feels like kind of a big achievement to make it to 5,000. And it feels really super special to do this in order to share it with you all. So thank you for being here. Got some friends in the house. There you go. See them. I have a list on my phone of things I'm gonna talk through and share some really interesting, dramatic stories. Some stories of trips that I have made that haven't yet come onto YouTube because I keep my YouTube like a month or two in backlog so that I have some space and time to edit. And Laura, wait till I have 50,000 next year. I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. That's a really amazing manifestation. We'll see. This is helping me calm my nerves because I want to move slowly and like tell you stories at a pace that feels easeful and relaxed. And so this beautiful drum, which was a gift from one of my Patreons, thank you so much. I'm just really enjoying it to be like, go slowly. You have lots to talk about. We'll probably talk for maybe an hour. And at the end, also, if you have questions, feel free to like post them in the chat and I will endeavor to get to them slowly, but with some storytelling to start off with. Should be like drum roll. Oh, it is hot. Thank you, everybody. It's so sweet to see so many names that I recognize and see every week when I post videos. I thought I would start off by pulling a tarot card. I like to do this infrequently for myself. I'm hoping to start I've got a separate channel actually that I might start posting tarot readings on. But I'm just going to pull one little card for us and have some fun together. I don't believe tarot reading is like some magical, mystical thing. I believe it's just a thought prompt to help us view life from another perspective. And these beautiful cards have some imagery on it that are very sweet prompts and supportive and beautiful. Nothing scary going on here. Oh, look at this one. Let's do that one. Okay. Can you see that? Queen of Pentacles. This is kind of ironic for a live stream. Pentacles is an earth sign, and it kind of like you've done the work, you've put in the work, and you're reaping rewards. And this person has got a little fig leaf and a monstera and a little rabbit. They've watered a garden and they're growing little plants. And I feel like it's symbolic today of the work I've put in for this YouTube channel and getting to where I am and the community of beings and people and collaboration with nature that it's taken to get here. So there you go. It's a very, very sweet card. I've got on my website actually, you can purchase tarot readings as well. If you want a personal one, I do you a little video and send it over there. Speaking of websites, I'm going to talk to you about some freediving stuff, some marine foraging and harvesting stuff, and the short film that I made. And you can actually watch the short film too. There's a link for tickets on my website. It's like a musical interlude between everything that I decide to talk about. When I was a teenager, I'm not sure what that's about. Mary, I don't understand your question. What was I going to say? I've forgotten. Musical interlude. It's helping me pace my thoughts so that I can think a little bit before I speak. A big thank you to Jess for moderating today. I can't talk, think, look at some comments, and do all the things at once, so I really appreciate your help. Amanda's off on some adventures, so she would be here otherwise. However, we're going to have a great time today. Maybe I'd start with a little hybrid life story. So I am from New Zealand originally, and I moved to Australia in 2013. I lived there for 5 years, and then I had a very big and very sad breakup, and I moved to Canada. Because as you do sometimes when you have large breakups, things get very overwhelming and you just move on. And I was like, I'm out of here. So I applied for my working holiday visa to Canada because I was over 30, and most countries have a working holiday visa like limit for certain working holiday visas, or working holiday visas as opposed to working visas, that you have to be 30 or under, and I was over 30. And so Canada, for New Zealanders, you can get a visa up to 33, and I was like, okay, that's great. I will apply for a visa to Canada, and I got one, and it made breakup life easier. And then I was like, okay, but where in Canada am I going to move? Canada's a really large place. So I looked on the map and I was like, where is the warmest place? And I picked Vancouver and ended up in Vancouver City, and quickly realized when I got there how expensive Vancouver is. And then how unaffordable housing was. I'd love if you want to post in the comments if you live in a van, if you're interested in living in a van, if you sometimes travel, or if you have lived in more than one country, maybe the country you currently live in and the country you would love to visit. Let's get the chat going with a little bit of like travel dreams, because I think a lot of the people I see here have this beautiful adventurous spirit, and I admire that in all of you, whether you're doing big adventures or little adventures. Y'all are very, very sweet and supportive, and I support your adventurous spirit back in return. I moved to Vancouver, and then when I was in Vancouver, I decided that I didn't want to spend almost all of my paycheck on rent, and I purchased a van. I had like $2,000 left to my name because I hadn't gotten a job yet. And I was like, right, I'm buying a van. And I bought Mystery, which was a 1977 Vandura high top. And if you go back to some of my very original videos, you can see Mystery, my van. And I actually have a playlist of van tour videos. Where are they? Van tours. Here we go. Boop. Get shareable link. Here we go. Boop. This link has all of the van tours, and it has Mystery, my original van. When I first lived in Vancouver, in there too. I'm seeing people who live in a tiny home, people who want to live in a van, Dragonfly and Ladybugs. That's a great name. Mary, you're interested. Nancy, congratulations. You might buy a high top in September. That's a big move. Yeah. It's pretty freaking fantastic. Yeah. So, and then the pandemic hit in 2020, and I was like, living in the city is just too much. There was all of the pools shut down, all of the community centers, the facility centers, the places I was getting water, all of those things just kind of disappeared. Kind of a shock to the system, and I was a little distraught. But it was also a good time for me to move out of the city. I left, and at the time, my partner was living in one of the Gulf Islands, and I upped and left and moved into their backyard. And it was really reassuring to have some support and a location to be, power if I needed to plug in, and water and access when everything kind of just froze. And I think some places in the US didn't get quite shut down as much as it did here in Canada. And it was scary. I think there was a lot of like fear in the world, and nobody knew quite what to do. Phew, it's hot here too. I think it is close to 30 degrees, if not more. My cheeks show that it is quite warm. So I've always had kind of a home base area when I've lived in a van, whether it be when I was living in North Vancouver or whether it was on the Gulf Islands. And now I'm more located on Vancouver Island, which is really exciting. And I have people who I've met recently who are coming up to visit me or will come to visit, and I'm excited. I know you can't see it, but I have this beautiful drum just off camera, and I'm using it to calm my nerves, pace myself, so I don't talk too fast and feel like I just want to feel present. I want to feel present with the experience and with all of you. Your encouragement is really, really sweet. And I'm sure for those of you who live in the northern hemisphere, whew, it is hot. And I just spoke to my best friend who is currently living in Australia, and it is cold in Melbourne. And I mean, New Zealand has had some average temperatures. I think it has been around 8 degrees Celsius, which is, cold, but also mild, depending on what kind of weather you're used to. Sorry, you Americans, you're going to have to do a conversion. I cannot do Fahrenheit to Celsius. Somebody can post what 8 degrees Fahrenheit is. 8 degrees Celsius is in Fahrenheit for me, if you have that magical math skills. But yeah, it is probably about 30 degrees, 35 degrees Celsius here right now. Yeah. Destiny's Adventures, you have not missed very much. We are getting started. I'm moving slowly, and you can always watch the replay. I'm going to post this as a replay because I've had such an insane week, which I will tell you about soon, that I did not have the spoons to... Thank you for posting the temperature. It's great. I didn't have the spoons to edit this week as well as everything else. So that's kind of my van situation kind of going on, and it has been really lovely and sweet, and I am deeply in the middle of enjoying summer. I am sweating my way through it. I was just recently in the US, in Washington and Oregon, and the temperatures there were insane. What it was, 108 degrees Fahrenheit one day. That is crazy. Those are the temperatures that we used to get in Australia in summer. It would get up to 46 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I'm throwing you different temperature measurements all over the place, but yeah, hot. But places in Australia also get really cold in winter too. And I like that I have people who watch from the Southern Hemisphere too. I did a whole series of videos when I went back to visit New Zealand and see my family, and there is a playlist in my YouTube of all of my New Zealand videos. I did my partner and I went together, and we rented a van, and we traveled a big part of the US, which was really freaking cool. Not the US, New Zealand. And it was beautiful to see more of like parts of the US that I hadn't seen before. Hi, Sam. Yeah. But I guess a lot of people here travel around to manage the temperature too. Snowbirds from Canada travel down to the US. People go to Mexico. It is incredible that the human desire to move and explore. And I feel very grateful and privileged that I also have had such amazing fortune to be able to move around and love. I'm glad that you're enjoying the drumming a little bit. It's helping me maintain my cool in a not cool environment. I'm also learning, so picking up tunes or making patterns is something I'm still getting a handle on. I asked my Patreons for questions that they wanted me to answer, because I give my Patreons a little like behind the scenes look and first dibs on Q&As and things like that. I'm just going to pour a little beverage. If you have got a cup of tea or a glass of cold water, feel free to join me. Cheers. So I got some questions. One of the question was, tattoos. So I have a lot of tattoos, some of which you see regularly, some of which you probably don't see at all. And my Patreons were like, do you have a tattoo that you could share us with us and what it means and what it's all about? So I thought I would share. Aw, y'all are so sweet. Thank you. So I have a thistle on my chest to represent some of my Scottish ancestry. And then this moon, there we go, is got a Celtic design in it. And that's to represent my Irish ancestry. And when I was a kid, I did Irish dancing. I wonder if I can see if I can find you a picture. It's freaking adorable. I did Irish dancing for 8.5 years, and around New Zealand we had competitions. Like, to think that there is a community that does Irish dancing as far away from Ireland as New Zealand, it's kind of incredible. Do I have pictures accessible? Should have prepared this earlier. I didn't think I was going to talk about it. Okay, can't find them. Never mind. Yeah, it's pretty freaking cute. So I have some of those that represent that, and then these here, these fiddle heads on my shoulders are for a little bit of the taste of New Zealand. New Zealand, everything is like, there are a lot of ferns and tropical plants, and the number of ferns that exist in New Zealand is huge, and they're one of my favorite plants. But then it turns out when I moved to Canada, there were like fiddleheads and stuff like that. And as I've grown my foraging knowledge and all of that kind of thing, it's been really cool to see more of the fiddlehead stuff and everything else like that. Oh. Oh, Amanda's just sent me a message from her InReach saying hello to the live stream. That's very sweet. Aw, that's very sweet. She's out of signal right now and has been an incredible support. If you haven't seen Amanda's channel, it is at Tideline to Alpine, and it has been really nice to begin and do YouTube with a friend and have collaboration and support and somebody to rant to when things are less fun or hard work. So the other tattoos I have a firebug here, because when I moved to Canada, I was absolutely fascinated with lightning bugs. And when I actually finally see one for the first time, because it's ironic, I've never seen one in real life. I'm going to get its little butt tattooed yellow. But I love all insects except mosquitoes. And this one here is a moth. And it's also like a tarot card too, because it's got a little number 2 there. And eventually actually, maybe that one does have, that one also has a 2 on it, but it's not very bright, so I have to redo it. Yeah. This one here, what is it? This one here, I did myself. I tattooed this one myself. And there is like a little moon here. It's like a little sigil. Here are these 4 are the suits of the tarot. And these are the alchemical symbols for earth, fire, air, and water. And then these are the corresponding directions for each of the symbols. So they go this way. I'm not very good at remembering things. Much easier to remember things when you have an immediate reference. So there you go. I have 2 little tiny ones on my hands. You can kind of almost see. This one here is a little skull, and this one here is a little ghost. And one day I was at a museum and they had an exhibition about skulls and how some spiritual cultures really revere them, how different, like the way different cultures have treated things, revered things, decorated things, turned them into art and all of that kind of stuff. And then they said, if you have a skull tattooed on you, you get a discount ticket. And I was like, look, this one, I have a teeny tiny one in it. It's reversed on the screen. They still give me a discount for my ticket, which is very cute. So yeah, I have a lot of other tattoos too. Some of which you'll see in summer and never in winter. It's really cute. If you would all give this video a big thumbs up, that would be really helpful too. Yeah, I'm going to drum a little bit and then we'll move on to our next topic. If you have any questions about any of the things that I have shared so far, please let me know. Yeah. Yay, somebody from the Southern Hemisphere. Woohoo. Joan, you didn't miss much and you can watch the beginning part of it later if you want. I'll make sure it gets posted online afterwards. Next topic is hair color. So over the time that I have been alive, I have had a multiple different color of hair colors. I started off my early years with bright pink hair. It was one of my favorite things. I have recently cleaned out my phone and I don't have a lot of pictures. It's very interesting. Oh, that's why it says recent. Here we go. There we go. Do I have a picture of me with pink hair? You know what? I am so grateful that I am... Joan, thank you so much. That's very, very sweet of you. I thought I had my Irish dancing pictures and my pink hair. No, I have cleaned out my phone and I don't have anything on here. Interesting. Okay. I'll have to share some pictures over on my Patreon of what I used to look like. Used to be a lot more flamboyantly femme and did a lot of burlesque dancing and pin-up stuff, and it was very sweet and beautiful. And I am older now and more reserved, and I really, really enjoy that about myself. Okay, back to my list. Hair colors. I currently have yellow hair. I did a video ages ago, actually, where I tried to dye my hair with turmeric. And can I tell you, it made my hair the most beautiful yellow. The most beautiful yellow. I was absolutely thrilled. It was very, very sweet. However, every single thing that I touched, whether it was sheets and pillowcases, couches, extra, everything turned yellow. Joan, maybe I'm more extroverted in different ways and more true to myself in other ways. So this combination of being more in tune with myself, I think. Maybe that makes more sense. Yeah. But yeah, I dye my hair every 8 weeks. So not that frequently. I'm very due for it, but also like my regrowth isn't too bad. I like having really bright hair. No need to apologize. No, it's great. I really like explaining and elaborating on bits and pieces. And this haircut is probably the coolest thing I could have right now. And I'm due for a cut because it's getting in my eyeballs. So I'm going to probably chop a little bit of it off. Yeah. I've had bright red hair. Sometimes I do a little fiery number where it's red, orange, yellow. Maybe I'll do that again soon. I think I've got to order a bit more dye because yellow dye is hard to get hold of in a shop, so I often order it online. Coloring products. Oh, it's in a pink bottle. I can't remember the names now that you've asked me. You've put me on the spot and the information has just gone poof out of my brain. But there's some great brands out there for hair dye that are not toxic and very good. I thought I would musical interlude, and then we talk about free diving. Oh, the octopus that's on my bed. Okay, this is a great segue. So I am obsessed with octopus. I'm obsessed with the color yellow, and I'm obsessed with octopuses. Obsessed with the ocean in general. I'm sure you've kind of gotten the drift if you've watched a few of my videos. I have a little octopus ring. I have this octopus. I've got several other little tiny octopuses all throughout my van hidden around. And I collect things that are that have octopuses on them. And then when in wintertime, when I get back into pottery, I create pottery that has octopuses on there. Actually, I wanted to show you. I have a couple of examples. These are the things that I made last year that have not sold yet. So there's like a little shot glass with another little matching one here. This one here, which has got a little tentacle on it, which I'm going to put online for discount because there is a little piece that I have to glue back onto it. It goes right there. I've been putting this one up cheap. I haven't reduced the price yet, so, but that one, I think those three things are still on my website. But I'm going to make some candlesticks and bits and pieces, but it's too hot. It's too hot right now, and I will do that later on in the season. But this one here is Ollie the octopus, and actually YouTube helped me name this guy. This was a gift from some dear friends who also live in a step van, and they went to IKEA and found this guy, and the most adorable thing. Found him, and he's yellow, and I just fell in love and had to have him, and he's like my snuggle in its snuggleable weather. And then this octopus is the infamous Octo hat, which this is the very first iteration, which I crocheted myself, and have now started a tradition that every year in winter I make a brand new one of these, and I open up a drawer, and somebody on YouTube will win this, and not this hat, but a new one every year, and I will post it to you for free anywhere in the world. And it gives me so much joy to put time and effort, because it takes a long time to make. You can buy them on the internet if you wanted one made already, or you can buy the pattern for it on Etsy if you look up Kraken hat, octopus Kraken hat. My first attempt shows the newness of my crocheting, and then the ones that have come since afterwards are a lot better, and I'm sure I'll just keep getting better as I keep doing them. But I make a new one once every year. But when I lived in New Zealand, I used to just snorkel a lot. There were a lot of marine parks, and you could just hop in the water in summer and go swimming. And I always have been there with a mask and snorkel, and I just remember these places where there were giant fish everywhere. And then I lived in the city in Melbourne, so I swam in the ocean a bit, but I didn't really do any diving. And then when I moved to Canada, I was like, some friends of mine were like, we're getting wetsuits. Do you want to join? And so I joined in on this wetsuit purchasing thing, and we all ended up with spearfishing wetsuits, which is, for the Pacific Northwest waters, kind of necessary because the water is cold. And so I have a winter suit, which is 7 millimeters thick, and is 2 pieces, like a Farmer John and a top piece. And it keeps me nice and warm, especially when the water in winter can get down to like 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. If the math whizzes would do a temperature conversion to Fahrenheit, that would be amazing. Keeps you nice and toasty and warm. Will a wetsuit protect you from jellyfish? Most likely, yes, if you get a thick enough one. I can't say that for sure for every single jellyfish, so don't quote me. But I have swum by the lion's mane jellyfish that we have here in the Pacific Northwest waters. And really, your face, like this much of your face, is the only piece that is visible to anybody. I just had an idea, actually, Laura. I'd buy a mini octopus that you crocheted. I don't know if I have time to crochet those kind of things, but I have friends who I recently met who have a crochet business, and there is a possibility that I could support their business, commission a whole lot, and then those of my Patreons who would like one, or YouTube memberships, that kind of thing, would have first access to a little mini crochet. This is just brainstorming. It hasn't come for real. I'll go in and have a look. So yeah, it's cold in the water in winter, and the ocean warms up a little bit here in summer, but it is also still like a temperature that, if you want to be in the water for a very long period of time, a wetsuit is helpful. So I recently got a summer weight wetsuit, and it is 3 millimeters thick, and it's bright yellow. I saw it and I was like, okay, that has to be mine. Also obsessed with yellow. Almost anything yellow. And I'm like, okay, cool. Actually, somebody come into my van recently and was like, oh, I'm surprised actually that everything is not yellow in the van. I'm like, no, it's nice and warm tones though. I like my warm tones. I like my copper. But having a wetsuit is very helpful for free diving, and it keeps me nice and warm and means I can stay in the ocean for like an hour or two and spend my time looking around, doing a lot of diving. I think the last big dive I did, I was in the water for almost 2 hours. Like, it was quite a long time. Had a real big blast. I've been diving for now 4 or 5 years around here, and so my wetsuit is on its last legs. That's for sure. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get a custom one and get it designed, and maybe also that one could be yellow. I don't know. They are not cheap if you want a good one, but I am really appreciating the fact that I have a 2-piece wetsuit. It's 7 millimeters for winter. My yellow one is 3 millimeters for summer, and it's just the top half. Like, I don't need, in this type temperature, I actually went for a dive yesterday, and I didn't need 2 pieces. I just put leggings on underneath so that the wetsuit wouldn't give me a wedgie, because it does up in between the legs. But you can get surf wetsuits. It's slightly different from a surf wetsuit. Surf wetsuits, you can get little shorty ones that are like little jumpsuits. But diving wetsuits are constructed slightly differently from surf wetsuits, but that should never prevent you from getting in and doing it. If you're interested in the ocean, put a mask and snorkel on and go in. And this time of year, also jumping in the rivers are beautiful. I just spent a lot of time in and by the river, and there's little crayfish or crawdaddies everywhere, as they call them in the US. And I was just like, this is so freaking cute. So you have lots of footage of that coming up. But that kind of leads me into spearfishing conversation. So I have spent the last few years building up my relationship with the creatures that live in the Pacific Northwest, and I love them. I've learned their like the habitats, where you're going to find this fish over this fish, what the temperature does. And if you didn't know that the ocean has seasons, that the temperature changes, the visibility changes. In summer, the visibility is horrible. The better visibility is in wintertime. So when it's cold outside, the visibility is beautiful up here. It's not like the tropics where you can go in 30-degree water or 25-degree water all year round. Has a bear ever gone into the water while you're diving? No, actually. I know that if I was in the river and I saw a bear, I would get out of its home rather than asking it to get out of my home. Like, that's not the order of things. Like, I believe that if I saw a bear, I would leave it to it, because the river is his place to get meals, and I don't need to. I can come back later. I've had interactions with seals, and some divers have interactions with sea lions. I've been flashed by sea lions. Like, we could hear them. They were coming around in the bay. There was a big group of them. The closest that a sea lion has ever gotten to me is like zooming past, understood. Yeah. That's so sweet. Oh, I'm glad. But seals will pop up and they'll just sit like 10 feet away from you and watch you. And then recently when I was in Haida Gwaii, I had a seal that went and huffed at me. It was like, which I think is their way of being like, what are you doing? Who are you? Trying to like be a little intimidating. And I was like, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Oh my gosh, I need a haircut. But yeah, I've had seals swim by too and gotten some shots of them occasionally. I'm not as scared of them because they're just generally curious. And because I'm not scuba diving, if they were to ever come close to me, they're not going to interrupt my air supply. Like, if they were to mess with me, it would just be my mask. I don't think I would let them come anywhere close to me, because you can swim away and stuff like that. But I know seals are just generally curious. They're like little puppy dogs of the ocean, is what I call them. But as far as spearfishing goes, I have just spent some time learning the oceans that I swim in, and diving in the same places regularly. You kind of learn what the habitat is like, and is there a larger number of crabs here, or is there never crabs here? So you kind of build up relationship with place. And so I have recently started doing a lot more marine harvesting and eating food from the ocean, and it has been very exciting. And that has come with like the building of ability to end a creature's life, and the honoring and holding space for that. I don't tend to eat much animal product. I eat cheese, eggs, dairy. Is if it's fermented, I eat cheese. And then I will, if somebody puts something in front of me and is like, this is a gift, I've made you this, whatever it is, then I will eat it. But I don't actively go out and buy animal products or animal meat myself. If I have harvested it, then I have a relationship with it. There's no bycatch. I know how that animal's life has ended, and I have done it with swiftly, ethically, and as fast as I can. And it feels really good. So I've been clamming recently. I eat a lot of crab. I have introduced some of my friends to eating sea cucumbers and sea urchins, which is really delicious. And recently I got a pole spear. Holding a spear gun feels a little uncomfortable for me. So a pole spear is what I'm working with. And it is really cool to pursue that journey and see how that feels. And I'm probably going to go for a dive again this weekend and see if we can catch some fish. And I have a friend who's like, I'll teach you how to cook perch. And perch are really delicious. And like, perch are little tiny fish, and they're a little bit like you can sneak up on them a bit better. I don't want to call them stupid, but they're just, they're a little bit easier to sneak up on, should we say. Yeah, it is really exciting. Thank you all for being here. I am really thrilled to be doing this live stream and to have you all join. It's been a delight. So I wanted to tell you a story of my recent trip to the US and how, and its dramatic ending, shall we say. I have considered myself a very lucky person, and this story really highlights how bad things could have been, but wouldn't. Let's start with my van broke down. My van broke down and needed a new fuel filter. So there's the dramatic part. And now I'm going to start back at the beginning of the story. So I have been wanting to travel more into the US and do some exploring down just the like Oregon, Washington, those states along the coastline and inland, because they have similar landscapes to here in Vancouver Island, the Pacific Northwest, which I really deeply love. Very green, very forested. I was like, well, let's see more. Why not? And there was a little town called Florence, which I really wanted to visit too. So I bought tickets. I saw somebody asked about music festivals. I used to go to a lot when I was in Australia and New Zealand, and I haven't really attended many since I have moved to Canada. Maybe that will change in future. I don't know. I find them a lot of people and a little bit overwhelming. So I was going to a small gathering. I prefer small gatherings, and I had bought tickets to go to one just recently in Oregon called Camp Pride. And it was really sweet. And I was like, okay, Oregon is somewhere I can get down to. I can travel, I can break. Because my van is a 1999, she has an engine that has over 200,000 kilometers on it. I'm sure somebody can do the conversion from 200 kilometers into miles for me, if you would, please. I was like, okay, so I need to take care of my engine, and it's going to be really, really hot. So I was like, I'll travel in the morning and travel in the evening, and that will keep my engine protected. It will take care of it. It's responsible. I'm not going to overheat. I will see how it feels. Thanks, Nancy. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's a lot of miles. And engines sometimes need a little bit more TLC when they get to that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I can make it to Oregon and back. So I spread the journey from Vancouver Island down to Oregon over 3 days, doing like 2 to 3 hours driving max at a time. Mainly because I was dying in the heat, but also I wanted to take care of the van. And I stopped at some really cute little campsites along the way, and I had to work, so I put my Starlink out, and everything was going really swimmingly. Got to camp, had a lovely time, and met some incredible people. Probably hang out with the introverts out of sheer survival, but it was so lovely. I had a really, really sweet time, and I look forward to putting together a video about that adventure, the trip down, meeting people, swimming in the river, and all of that kind of thing. You know, I think, Jason, you might have a point. I have the engine in this van is a Ford E350. And they probably could have put a bigger one. Like, it was designed to be a delivery truck that did sort of small distance driving rather than long haul things. And because I've built my entire house out in here, it's heavy. I think the weight of my van is just under 5,000 kilos. If anyone else wants to do, I'm relying on all of you to interact with me to do all of my conversions with me. I have a app on my phone that I normally do my conversions with. 5,000 kilos is how much the van weighs, and so it's quite a lot for the engine. So taking care of it is really important to me. But I made it down, and then after the camp. I went up the Oregon coast and I got to play in the sand dunes in Florence, and I got to drive up the coast, and the coast really reminded me of a cross between some of the surf beaches in New Zealand and Ireland. Tams, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Give it a thumbs up. Yeah, it was beautiful, and I cannot wait to go back. I zoomed through Seattle and I zoomed through Portland, and I'm looking forward to coming back down again later in the year and spending more time in some of those places. That is going to be very exciting. That'll be really fun. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that at this point. Then heading back up, I stopped in Olympia and visited some friends there. And it was a lot of driving. I now know what the I-5 is like. I know what the 101 is like. And I really enjoyed exploring some places and some really cute things. But I was always in the back of my mind, I mean, like, I really need to keep an eye on my engine and take care of it. Bellingham, I've been up to Hurricane Ridge, but I'm pretty sure that's not Bellingham. Hurricane Ridge is in one of the mountains up there somewhere. I did that in a video not too long ago, the last time I went down to the US. Yeah, it's a gorgeous area and I cannot wait to do more. And I follow a couple of nature forager people who live in that area of Washington, and I'm hoping to do some workshops and stuff like that. Oh, I didn't put talking about foraging on my talking list. If we have time, I'll talk about that too. We're getting close to an hour. But the day after I got back, I parked up at my favorite spot where I get a little bit of shade, but really good Starlink access. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just chill here for the day and work. So I did. And then I was like, oh, the sun's moved. I need to move the van. And I went to start the engine and it just would not start. I'm like, do I have a little video that I can play you of what it sounded like? Oh, I'm so not prepared. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that sounds worse than when it sounded when I was... Well, it's turning over faster. There's still a little bit of fuel, so it's starting to fire, but after a while, it'll just turn quite good. And it's trying to go. Ugh, that sounds so bad. Well, thanks for not turning it off. So, it was just trying to start and going... And I'm stuck in this car parking lot at like in the middle of nowhere being like, oh my gosh. It's the day after I have gotten back from this really long trip. What have I done to my van? And oh my gosh, I'm so glad that this happened one day after I got back to Vancouver Island instead of somewhere. Like, it could have happened a day previously and I would have been stuck in the middle of nowhere on public land somewhere, on a campground, like an unofficial campsite. Like, who knows? Oh, stressful. So I was really lucky that it happened. I was in service. I called my mechanic and I said, my van's not starting. Can you believe it? I had just texted him and said, I got back safely. Nothing happened. Everything went really smooth. And I was like, oh. And what had happened was my fuel pump had died. Simple, but also with the size of vehicle that this is, very complicated. And so my mechanic said, what I want you to do is climb under your van, get a hammer and hit the side of your fuel tank really hard as you can, bash it a couple times, and then dash straight to the thing and try and turn it on one last time. Sometimes if your fuel pump dies, you can smack the shit out of your fuel tank and it will roll back to life. And lo and behold, me feeling like the luckiest duck in the world, yes, angels taking care of me, the fuel pump kicked back into life and I was able to drive my van straight to my mechanic's shop, which was like 20 minutes away from where I was. I was like, had this happened anywhere else, I would have been miles from a mechanic. I would have been so far away, and this van is 23 feet long. Like, it's not going to fit in most shops. It is also really tall. It doesn't fit in most shops. And if I'd broken down, I could have been freaking who knows where and not be able to get to a shop. But my fuel pump died, and I was able to revive it one last time. So keep that trick up your head. If you're ever in a situation where you or somebody else, it's trying to turn over, but it's just not roaring into life, smack the fuel tank. But then once it's running again, don't turn it off. So I left it running till I got to my mechanic's place, and then left it running until he had moved me around and decided where he needed me to be, what he needed to do with my van, what his plan was for dropping the fuel tank, where he wanted to do that. So we just left it running. And it sips fuel. It's not amazingly fuel efficient. Joan Marie did the fuel efficiency math calculations for me, I think, a little while back, and it might not have been great, but it's okay. This is my house. It's cheap rent, so it doesn't have to be fuel efficient. It just gets me around, but I feel very lucky. My credit card feels very much less lucky. So what I was going to say is, if you all haven't, there are some stickers on my website. I have these fancy new ones, which are holographic. If you wanted to pop over there and purchase yourself a ticket, all my Patreons get sent these for free, and I'm about to do a little mail out, and I buy postcards from all of the wonderful places, so my Patreons get some amazing postcards. I have the most incredible ones. Can I lay my hands on them quickly? Maybe not. I have the most incredible postcards from Washington, which I'm about to send out to all my Patreons probably this weekend, which I'm really excited about. They're so freaking amazing. And so segueing back to freediving, a year and a half ago, I made a short documentary film about the relationship between a group of folks on one of the Gulf Island that I used to live on and the ocean, and talked about some of the climate effects. And then there's a whole lot of marine creatures that are featured in there, and I'm so proud of it. So if you also head to my website, you can buy tickets to view the film and check it out. It's a 10-minute film, and then there's an extra Q&A, and then a marine biology talk at the end, so you get an hour-long video to watch. And your support and my credit card will very much appreciate it. I was very lucky that my mechanic was like, your vehicle is really big and it takes up a lot of room in my yard, so that's how you get priority service. He's actually a genuine sweetheart. But, yeah, I have my van back. I have a new fuel pump. I will be purchasing a spare fuel pump. I bet your bottom dollar that I want to have one just in case that ever happens again. But I keep my fuel tank full, and I was only driving in cooler temperatures. So I think I did myself a favor and kept my van alive because of that. Okay. I'm going to go back and look over the Q&A now. So if you have anything that you would like to ask that I haven't already spoken about, pop it in the chat. I said there was one other thing that I didn't write down. Oh, foraging. That's what I was going to talk about. I've got a bunch of things going on the go right now, and I thought I would show you, do a little show and tell. Okay, so I've been making a few things. This here is not what it says on the label. A few, like last summer, I made a whole lot of elderflower syrup and put it in the freezer. And then this year I was like, oh, I'm not drinking this elderflower syrup. What can I do with it? And so I fermented it. I went and bought a little packet of yeast, and I put the syrup in little bottles and a whole raisin because it needs the extra proteins. And I made elderflower wine, and it has still got some fizz. It's very tasty, quite potent. And I mix it now with kombucha. Okay, currently I have rose petals. Oh, they smell amazing. That's from the Nootka Roses. I have this. So these are Doug fir cones. There's going to be a video coming up about these. And there are still green Doug fir cones on trees around this area now, but I put dry cones in here with dry sugar, and the cones turned it into liquid all by themselves. Can you believe that? You can also do that with rose hips. Fill a jar with rose hips, fill it with sugar, and then the moisture and flavor leaks out into this. And yes, you get to watch the live stream later. Yep, definitely. I'm going to make it public. But this smells amazing. It's got that like citrus, sappy smell. So at some point soon, I'm going to take the syrup off. It started fermenting, so it is really delicious and it is really good for you. And here I have some calendula flowers. Because I am semi-nomadic and I have a home base, I have a little teeny tiny garden, all in little pots. So I have grown some calendula flowers, and I plan on, as the flowers come up, I'm going to just put them in this oil and then turn them into a salve. Oh yeah. In spring, I collect poplar buds. So these are poplar tips or cottonwood tips. These are all not refrigerated. This one here will eventually be refrigerated once it outs, but they all just have these breathable lids. This one here I burp. This one here is dried, and then I convert. You can do this. It's called Magolio, and it's Italian. You can do it with any conifer cone, apparently. But do your own research on the trees that are near you. But Magolio, I think, is how it's pronounced or spelled. But if you do pine cone syrup Magolio and Google it, you'll find some instructions. This is poplar salve, and I will then mix these with beeswax once they have sat for a decent amount of time and turned it into a salve. I made one last year, actually, and it is, I mean, this smells beautiful. Sometimes people are allergic to cottonwoods, so they can't have it and it will just irritate their skin. But provided you're not allergic to cottonwood or poplars, the smell is divine. And it is really good, like a healing salve. And this one here. And then the other one that I have. Where's that jar? Actually, I don't know. The other one I have is St. John's wort. So I have St. John's wort. This one, yeah, I have a bunch of potions going on, and then I'm going to be gathering soon some fireweed and some yarrow and what else? There's a couple other plants that I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But it's like resources like this one that Joan, you're incredibly sweet, and I deeply appreciate you. This one here, they have lots of love potion number 9. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I have a necklace. It's not right there. I have a little necklace that is filled with glitter that has love potion number 9 written on it. But like these ones, you have the rest, like the plants in here. Plantain, knotweed, wild strawberries, chocolate lilies, mariposa lilies, squash berries, salmon berries, wild licorice. And so you can find foraging books for your area. Mountain sorrel, plantain. Like, this is like knowledge that we used to have as a whole community for how to heal ourselves. This one here is written by British Columbia Provincial Museum. I don't know, but you can get other books, like just foraging pieces. And I am constantly learning and learning from other people. People see my videos and make comments and share the kindest information. And then I go and do my own research and learn. It is very sweet. All right, I'm going to go scroll up through the comments and see. Currently, in my little garden, I have a sunflower, an eggplant, some zucchinis, and some squashes, and some kale, and some lettuce, some herbs. And I put 2 tires on top of each other to try and do a raised garden to get some potatoes. It's not very big. Okay, if you got questions, I'm going to be ending this in 5 minutes. How did I meet Amanda? Amanda and I met prior to both of us being on YouTube. And we met over the internet and then became friends in real life because of the pandemic. Came and hang out. I can't find any questions. So if y'all have any, do I have to keep it refrigerated? No, I think I answered that. Yeah. Check out the website if you would. I would love to share with you my short film. It has already done the round of film festivals, and so I probably won't ever be posting it publicly on YouTube. It is my baby, and I put a lot of work into it, so yeah. I think what I would like is if anyone has poem recommendations of things that they would like. I'm always looking for new poems to read in my videos, so feel free to send them to me. You all have been such a generous audience. Any questions? I should do a live stream every Saturday. Oh my gosh. I will do live streams infrequently for my Patreons on the top tier. I will not do them regularly on YouTube because I get really nervous. It's a lot of like gearing up and like nerves because it feels like I'm actually talking to you live, which I mean, it is live, but on my other things, I can always edit it. So I can listen to it and I can be like, I can speak that again and try to do it again. Or, you know, there's a little bit more of control over it and slowness. And I tend to be somebody who likes to move a little slowly, but y'all have been so wonderful. I am so thrilled that all of you came and joined me here. My octopus's name? You mean this guy? This is Ollie. Ollie the octopus, and this octopus got named via YouTube. I got everybody to comment names on the video, and then I compiled the list of names and the names that had the most votes. Then my Patreon selected from like the top 5 with voting from there. It was really sweet. Ollie! Yeah. Do we go? Thanks. I'm having trouble saying goodbye. Bye. Bye, everybody. This has been fun. Thanks for celebrating with me. All right, I'm going to push the hang up button now.